So it's called editing. So okay, let me turn this off as well. Now, give me a 5x5 if y'all can hear me. This is a different microphone. My camera is a little messed up, and I can use one camera. It's just not that good. But welcome to the show. Welcome to Midnight Election Integrity. Okay, another episode of Midnight Election Security. So, if you don't know about our group, it's Taking Back Texas. We're also known as Taking Back the Republic, takingbacktexas.org, or tbtr.us. Y'all, if you would give me a 5x5. For some reason, I'm not logged into Pilled right now. I'm not sure why. So I don't know actually who is actually watching this right now. But let's see. All right, thank you guys. And I know that like this had almost no announcement or like explanation. Like I just don't always announce whenever I'm gonna go live. Let me make sure. I think it's working. Actually, who is actually watching this? Yeah, it's working, guys. Okay, and it sounds all right. Y'all have complained before about my audio being tinny or whatever, so this should help. Now, if you hear running water, it's actually raining outside really hard. So that's what that is. I'm trying to get logged back into Pill, but for some reason my computer has forgotten my login. As have I. Let me see. I'll figure that out later. Alright, so I can use this camera. It's just not as good as the one that I want to use. And the one that I want to use is actually apparently busted. So, it just doesn't work. Whenever I can get it to work, it's like pink. The screen is like pink. I don't know why. Anywho. If you have been following on my Telegram, you'll have probably seen some updates related to the recount that I was helping out with in Dallas County for a candidate named BARRY WERNICK. Okay? Barry was running for Texas's House District 108, which is in Dallas. It's actually all the way in Dallas. It's not even like it's not even split between multiple counties. It's like all the way in Dallas. So, and it's in a very specific area of Dallas. So Barry felt like he had really good support. The results turned out very differently from what a lot of people expect. I don't know why I have these on. This is not even the microphone that I'm using. Sorry, guys. I'm an investigator. I'm not like a streamer. Okay. But you might be watching this on YouTube. I think I'm streaming on YouTube, on Pilled, on Foxhole, and on Rumble. So please, y'all can feel free to comment if you have any questions. But then again, I know you might be watching this like the following day because I just decided to go live at midnight. Because I need to give you guys an update about this recount, especially everyone that's following on Telegram, because y'all been seeing me post about it, right? But there's just so much that's been going on. It's hard to do summaries because at the end of every day, there's more that's happened, and then we have to wait on other information. So I'm going to try to give you all of the information that we've got so far. This has been absolutely wild. This recount in Dallas County, again, for Barry Wernick and Morgan Meyer's race for Texas HD 108, has been absolutely chaotic. And the reason for that is, honestly, I'm going to be honest, it's one person mainly. And that is Jennifer Stoddard Haidu. And if you're following on my Telegram, you know that's not new. I've been calling her out for a while. If you're following on my Rumble, you might have seen other live streams that I've done calling Jennifer out, saying that she's totally failing the DCRP, which is the Dallas County Republican Party, totally failing them in the election integrity arena. She went down, did this whole show about going down and talking to the Secretary of State about election security issues, but they didn't actually cover the main issues. They just went down there. It seems like they just, really they went down there to have a photo op. That's what it seems like Jennifer did. I do not believe that she's serious about election security. And her conduct during this recount really I guess solidifies that. Like to me, it really confirms that she's not into election security. That was a total front just to get votes from the executive committee who were pushing for election security issues. You know how the establishment does. They'll pander to you, right? That's all that was. She wasn't serious and she wasn't caring about any of the details. So it's kind of an issue for me whenever people like distract others. They really tried to like get people to believe in them and to even like, excuse me, sorry about that, to even contribute to what they're doing, but they're not serious about anything, So that's Jennifer Stoddard Haidu. She's the outgoing DCRP chair, total fraud, leading the Dallas Republican Party over a cliff. And let me tell you what she's done during this recount. She has consistently blocked our access. And when I say our, I mean myself and the other poll watchers and Barry, the candidate, from supporting documents related to the recount, which federal law and state law both say we have access to. It's actually in the Help America Vote Act. I've been told it's in like 52 USC something or other, but you can go and look up the text of the Help America Vote Act and see in section 301, voting system standards. If you scroll down, just read through all of that, but there's an area where related to access to election records. And it outlines that all of these records that are produced during an election run by a computerized voting system, all of these records need to be made available. Basically to anyone asking, especially during an audit or a recount. And it does say recount specifically in federal statute. Okay? Despite federal law and despite state law outlining that we need access, we should have access to those supporting documents if we ask for them, Jennifer Stoddard Haidu has consistently denied us access unless the Secretary of State explicitly authorized the specific documents we are asking for. I'm talking down to the tally sheets. The tally sheets for the recount that my candidate was paying for, we were denied access to the tally sheets. Okay? I mean, it's wild. we are supposed to not only have access to these records, we're supposed to be allowed to make photocopies of all of these records. Say we see something weird, we should be able to document that. Well, we were not only denied from a lot of these documents we were asking for a while we were allowed to make photocopies. So I've got a certain amount of photocopies of unlawful election records, but then they shut us down and they stopped letting us make photocopies. The reason we're supposed to be allowed access to these supporting documents and supposed to be allowed to make photocopies of supporting documents of an election during a recount is because that's our time to collect evidence for a potential contest. So it's like recount and then a contest. Like, you could file an election contest just to challenge the results of the election and say, hey, I think we need a new election because this, and this happened, right? But you're going to want evidence when you file a contest. You don't just file it and then try to like persuade the judge to do it because you feel like something was fishy. You need to actually have evidence. So the recount is our opportunity to collect evidence of whatever issues, might have been reported or that we might have experienced. We can go in at that point, within the first 60 days of the election, whenever we're doing our recount, we're actually able to go and try to document what issues, have been reported to us, whatever we can, because there's some things we can document, there's some things we can't document. Like, we can't document anything to do with the code, like the reports of all of the changing votes. We can't really document that. It's really hard to document that. But we can document stuff like the ballot ranges, the numbers of the ballots that are supposed to be at specific locations. Like, if those don't match up, we can document stuff like that. Broken chain of custody, forged signatures on the chain of custody. That's really special whenever we see stuff like that. And we do have a few photocopies of that, but we were not allowed to obtain photocopies of all of the items that we should have been allowed to photocopy, in which we would have very likely used in a contest to show that this was not a lawful election, the laws were not followed, whatever the evidence led us to. But we weren't allowed to collect the evidence. Okay, so all during the recount that Barry Wernick paid for, $100 a precinct, right? Who Barry Wernick was paying all the counters. Everybody that was involved with the recount, except for the watchers, because we're volunteers, everybody was being paid by Barry. Barry was paying for the whole thing. This was Barry's recount that he ordered. He was denied access to almost all supporting materials, including the tally sheets for the recount. Like, they're recounting, right? And they're marking. He was told, no, you don't get access to those, until the Secretary of State stepped in, was like, he does have access to those. Like, that's literally the point of the recount, is to do the tally sheets. He has access to those, and he can make photocopies of those. Absolutely. He's literally paying for those. That's what he's paying for. The SOS had to come in and tell Jennifer Stoddard Haidu to follow the law and to let Barry Wernick have access to the tally sheets for his own recount. Let me tell you what's even funnier. Barry's opponent, Morgan Meyer, who's like a total earthworm of a personality, I swear, his attorney literally argued this, and I should read it to you. I really should, because I have all of the receipts for this. You know what? I'm going to go live again tomorrow morning, because I just this is a random midnight election integrity thing where it's super informal. I'm just kind of giving y'all the updates, but I will show you all the receipts. I will show you what Morgan Meyer's attorney argued that Jennifer Stoddard agreed with. Surely the recount tally sheets aren't considered supporting materials for the recount. He literally said that in an email, and I'll read it to you guys tomorrow morning. I'll pull it up and I'll show it all to you guys tomorrow morning. But yeah, it's absolutely wild. They were trying to deny us access to literally everything. And Jennifer Stoddard Haidu seemed to be in near perfect coordination with Morgan Meyer's attorney, Jonathan Neerman. Jonathan Neerman is the one that said, surely the recount tally sheets are not supporting materials for the recount, and Barry should not have access to those. So then Jennifer was like, yeah, I agree. He shouldn't have access to those. That's what Jennifer Stoddard Haidu did. Morgan Meyer, total rhino. Only Republican in the House that voted against constitutional carry is Morgan Meyer, who's the one that allegedly beat Barry in Texas's HD 108 by 500 some odd votes, allegedly. During this recount, we noticed a lot of missing ballots. Okay, and I'm talking like in some locations, like 14 missing ballots from some locations, which were supposed to be ballots for the Texas HD 108 race. When I say missing ballots, we're not just saying, oh, these are just generic ballots. These were ballots that were supposed to be, that were tabulated electronically for this Texas HD 108 race. The ballots just weren't in the box. There were other boxes that were missing ballots, but one of them was missing 14. No paper record. Electronic votes, no paper ballot associated with those electronic votes. That's not cute. That's not cute. All right. There were other boxes too that were missing stuff, but that one we were able to document pretty thoroughly. But they stopped letting us, kind of like I think like the third time that they counted that box and confirmed that those ballots were just missing. That's around the time that they were like, okay, stop letting them photocopy things. Okay. There were a lot of other issues too. Okay. There were the ballot seal and certificate, which is like the chain of custody. One of the chain of custodies. Another chain of custody for Dallas is the ballot register, which has the amount of ballots that were sent to that location and the range of the numbers that were sent to that location. And we need those in order to document that the ballots that are in that box from that polling location were supposed to be from that polling location. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of the whole point of numbering the ballots. So it's weird that they don't want us to have like the ballot register when it's like, well, that's going to confirm that these ballots are legitimate. If you don't give us the ballot register, we don't know that these ballot numbers are the ones that are supposed to be here. You know what I'm saying? So they weren't giving us those documents. And it wasn't really Hyder that was denying us. It was really Jennifer. Hyder was like, look, if they tell me to give them to you, then I'll give them to you. Hyder kept saying that over and over. Jennifer Stoddard Hydu is the one that was denying us access to the records. So, I don't really know. There's not a lot of recourse that we have right now. I'll tell you what we did here in a minute. Sorry about that. I'll tell you what we did here in a minute. We did actually file a writ of mandamus because the election codes that were violated, the state election codes that were violated during this recount by Jennifer Stoddard Hydu, they're actually enforceable by a writ of mandamus, which is good when the law says that. So we filed a writ of mandamus. The Dallas court, when you file a writ of mandamus, it's like you go in and you ask the court, you say, hey, can you enforce this law because my rights are being violated in this way? Can you tell them, to follow this law, and can you order them to follow the guidance of the SOS and what the law as it's written in federal, state, and state laws, right? So normally you would file that, asking the court that, and then whoever you're asking the laws to be enforced against, they have an opportunity to respond, right? And then normally the court would look at both and be like, okay, make a decision. The Dallas courts literally, within hours of having the writ of mandamus filed, they rejected it without even a response from the other side. The Dallas courts just rejected it. Just like that. This all just happened. Like within what's today? Saturday? Within the last, a little over 24 hours. So, the whole recount has been going on since April 2nd. It was finalized when Jennifer Stoddard Hydu returned all of the records over to Hyder against the SOS suggestion, because the SOS was telling her, hey, if you've been obstructing them, you need to let them finish scanning. You need to let them scan all the documents they want. The problem is they had already put a lot of them away. She had already started returning custody to Hyder. Okay? And so the SOS told Jennifer, don't turn those back over to Hyder, okay, until they're done scanning. Because if you turn them back over to him, we're going to say it's too late. We're not going to recommend going back in there, okay? So the SOS was telling her, let them finish scanning their documents. Jennifer took that as, oh, okay, if I turn this all back over to Hyder, I'll be legally covered from not allowing them to scan their documents, because it'll be, the SOS said, if I turn them back over, you can't go back into them. Transferred them just like that. 2 hours after she got that email that said they need to be allowed to finish scanning, so don't give them back yet. She gave them back, knowing that it would prevent us from being able to continue to scan those documents. She knew that. She knew that full well. Okay? So this whole recount has been absolutely sabotaged. So our chance at filing an election contest, sabotaged. We're trying to figure out right now if there's anything we can actually do. It's hard because, I mean, we're doing what we can. So we've got our reports filed with the DA. Then we tried to take the avenue of filing the writ of mandamus, right? Which was perfectly feasible in this situation. Dallas court denied it right away. So Barry's rights and our rights have been totally violated, and we're not exactly sure what we can do other than suing in another capacity. So, we do have an attorney retained. We may go for a contest, but it's not up to me. I'm just telling you guys what's going on. It's not my recount. Apparently, it's not even Barry's recount, even though he freaking paid. I'm not even. Oh, I didn't even mention the extortion aspect. I didn't even mention this. Like, if you've been following my Telegram, you probably know a little bit about this. They literally shut his recount down halfway through, saying that he needed to pay an additional $10,000 without an itemized expense report. We don't know where they were getting that total. The law doesn't prescribe multiple deposits. He paid the lawful deposit. What the law says is that after the recount, depending on the results of the recount, he's either going to be due a refund or whatever expenses are incurred or accrued. He'll have a 90-day window after the end of the recount to pay that. So, like, there's the initial deposit, and then there's whatever happens after the recount. There's no, like, second deposit authorized or anything, but that's what the RPT and Jennifer did. They told Barry, they gave him a matter of hours. On one Friday, it was the second Friday of the recount, right? And they said, I know, it might have been the first Friday of the recount, was it? But they said, look, we're going to shut this recount down unless you give us another $10,000. And he was like, what are you basing that on? And they were like, well, because you've spent all of your deposit. And he was like, well, okay, but like, don't you have an itemized expense report? Like, isn't there something I can see? You're just like arbitrarily telling me I have to give you $10,000. And they were like, yeah. And they eventually did send an itemized expense report, but literally the only thing that it said was that Barry actually had a balance of around $1,000. They sent that later. But hours after they told him he needed to give them $10,000, they canceled the recount publicly. They sent out an email to all the volunteers, all of the counters, and basically to everybody saying it was over. It was over, and because Barry didn't bring more money. They were pretty open about the fact that they were charging him more money. I think they feel like if they were more open about it, then it would seem less fishy. Like, no, but it's still like totally unauthorized. And the way that they did it was messed up because they gave him hours to do it. Now, he raised the $10,000. We had an angel, okay? We actually had an angel that really wanted to understand what's going on with this recount, so he helped us out. But they actually knew that he raised the money, and then they canceled the recount. Which forced Barry to take a selfie with the check and was like, what are you doing? Why would you cancel the recount when I don't even think I should have to pay this $10,000? But I raised it. I'm like, I have it here. So all of this drama, obstruction, 4 assaults, they're minor, right? But they were physically stopping people, like physically grabbing people to stop them from making the photocopies. Obstruction, assaults, potential extortion. I would say conspiracy to obstruct. Because of the way that Jennifer Stoddard Haidu, who was in charge of the account, she's a DCRP chair, her and Jonathan Neerman, who's Barry's opponent's lawyer, they had just too many coordinated, too much coordinated language between the two of them. You know what I'm saying? And it was all in an attempt to obstruct for no reason. Like if they're all about election security and they're confident in the election, why would they be going out of their way to stop us from making photocopies of everything that we've found that was going wrong? You know what I mean? I was actually removed as a watcher for reporting the obstruction. I actually called because they were telling people, I don't care what the law says. I don't care what the SOS says. You're not making photocopies. The SOS told them, you need to let them make photocopies. They said, I don't care. So, so I call Susan Fountain said that. So I called and reported Susan Fountain for obstruction. We had all these witnesses of her saying, I don't care what the law says. Well, the law says obstruction is a Class A misdemeanor. The reason it's a Class A misdemeanor is because the election results, the records, and the reporting and contesting, that's all kind of like, it's a time sensitive, you know what I mean? If all of that stuff gets certified, and I'm not allowed to do what I need to do in the moment to try to stop an unlawful, vote from being cast, that's the whole point of watchers being there. That's the reason that it's a Class A misdemeanor. It's actually very important for watchers to be able to observe and to be like, okay, I've seen something weird going on and I'm going to report on that. Because the focus has to be on the prevention of unlawful ballots being cast. Y'all know I talk about this stuff all the time. The focus has to be on prevention. Once an unlawful ballot is cast, the damage is done. You can't get the ballot back out. We've covered that over and over. So I called the sheriff to report Susan for committing a Class A misdemeanor, obstructing a watcher during the course of an official recount in which I needed to be able to see certain documents, make photocopies and whatnot. She retaliated and had me removed permanently for reporting her in retaliation to me filing a complaint. She actually tried to have the officers charge me with filing a false police report. Can you believe that? And the officers were like, no, she's not filing a false police report, but if you want, she removed me and another watcher, a very nice woman named Melissa. And so the officer said, I mean, we can remove them if you want them removed, but we're not going to charge them with filing a false police report when they believe that this law is being violated. They're not trying to file a false police report. All kinds of issues with this recount. We filed the writ of mandamus to ask for the law to be enforced and for Barry's rights to be restored, for us to have access to those records within the 60-day mark so that we can still collect the information by polling location, because in Texas, after 60 days, the election records are taken out of the boxes from the polling locations that they came in, and they're like mixed up. They're like all mixed up. They're just like thrown all together and preserved for the remainder of the 22-month preservation period. That's across Texas, all across Texas. So if you want to audit the elections properly when you're voting county-wide in Texas, you need to get those records. You need to get a hold of those records within the 60-day mark, okay? Make note of that. Otherwise, especially if your county has abandoned numbering the ballots, if you number the ballots, you have a little bit of a better chance of still being able to audit them after the 60-day mark, when all of the ballots are taken from their polling location ballot boxes and put into a bigger container all together and stored for the 22-month period. But if your county is not numbering the ballots, like Tarrant County wasn't, and they're just now going to. Big update, guys. Tarrant County is numbering the ballots, something that I have been working on for a long time. A lot of people, saw the value in that, and so yeah, they just voted and started numbering our ballots. So we'll be able to audit our election records a little bit better this November in Tarrant County. Dallas has their ballots numbered. The problem is, again, they weren't giving us access to know which ballot ranges were supposed to be in each of the ballot boxes. They finally did give us those ballot ranges, right? So we were supposed to have those at the time, right? Whenever we were looking through the ballot boxes, so we could be like, oh, yeah, so these are all good. All of these ballot ranges are good. If we don't have those, we don't know. We're like, I don't know if this is a range of ballots that's supposed to be assigned to this location, because I didn't have that sheet until way after the fact, until all the ballots were transferred back over to Hyder and we couldn't look at them anymore by polling location. That's what's happened. The recount is sabotage because we have all of these documents, but we're unable to make sure that they match up to the documents that are in the boxes by polling location, you see. And so basically the court denied our writ because they're like, no, it's moot because you'll get access to these records on the 61st day. But on the 61st day, they won't be sorted by polling location anymore. So it's going to kill a significant amount of information that we need to collect as to whether the ranges of the ballots are in the proper location. We have to be able to document that. That's kind of the whole point of numbering the ballots. That's kind of the whole point. And it's also the whole point of the recount is to make sure that we're counting lawful ballots. In fact, in the Texas Election Code, it authorizes the chair of the recount to decide whether certain ballots are lawful and whether they should be counted. They can be like, this doesn't look like a lawful ballot. I'm not going to count that. I'm not saying that we need to just start throwing out ballots willy-nilly, but we have to start somewhere with cleaning out our elections and cleaning up our elections. Okay, so like if the Republican Party primaries, is where we need to start, then so be it. You know what I mean? Barry was willing to throw out lawful votes that were even for himself if the ballot was not lawfully prepared or if it did not seem like a lawful ballot. I'm telling you, we saw ballots with different font sizes. We saw ballots with it was weird with the weird alignments. We saw really, really weird stuff on the ballots. We saw forged signatures on the chain of custody where it looked like whoever was intaking everything was forging the signatures of the other people that were dropping off. It was really blatant, really. And a lot of it, honestly, is bad training. But we cannot have that as an excuse. We can't have that as an excuse. We have to have higher standards. So that means that we need to throw out what are probably lawful ballots, but that were not lawfully prepared, or where the chain of custody is broken. Then that's what we have to do. We have to take it seriously and start somewhere. And we have to put our money where our mouth is. So I really think that the Republican Party primaries are a really good opportunity. It was a great opportunity for Jennifer and for Morgan Meyer to come in and be like, yes, let's agree on what's a secure election. But no, they're way too threatened. And Jennifer even lost. So she really didn't even have anything to lose. It was really Morgan Meyer who was pulling the strings, and whatever connections he's offering her, his rhino establishment ass, whatever connections he's offering her because he won, were too strong. Is more important to her than making sure that we have lawful, secure elections, because she's a fraud. If I haven't been clear in the past, she's an absolute fraud. All right, so I just, I appreciate everybody watching. I'll probably go live again in the morning to explain a little more and to show some of the receipts. I'm going to try to go in chronological order so you can see exactly what happened and you can keep up with the story, because it has been a lot, and we've been trying to just kind of organize it in chronological order. So basically, as far as the recount's going right now, it's over. It was successfully sabotaged. We don't know what we're going to be allowed to do. We don't know what recourse we really have. But we're still going to try. We've got a lot of people working on it still. So if you see this in the morning, know I'll probably go live again. It depends on how the weather is, how my internet connection is. But I think that that's what I'll do, is I'll just kind of show the chronological order, because we do have that mapped out. And now that the court denied the order, I don't see why we can't just go public with literally everything. I don't see why not, because I'm not sure that we're going to have legal recourse, because the Secretary of State has created so much gray area here, legal gray area, that it's difficult for courts, even who aren't corrupt. And this was the Dallas Court of Appeals, so they're very corrupt. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't even care. I don't even care. That's my opinion, and I'll say it. In my opinion, this particular court is very corrupt, and I'll show you which court it is tomorrow. But even a good court, even a good judge, is going to have a hard time ruling in our favor until we clarify some of the laws and strengthen some of the laws. A lot of our laws are good already. An example is the access to election records. It was pretty clear to a lot of us that the law already authorized access to election records. But the Secretary of State was playing all kinds of games, so the legislature had to go through and literally strengthen it and fix it up. So the Secretary of State understood that when they say election records are public records and that we need access to them, they freaking mean it. Because the law already said that. But the legislature had to clean that up. So we have a few examples of things like that that we do have to do. We'll have to draft the legislation. We will have to run it by, other people, make sure it makes sense, make sure it's worded well, seek counsel among like-minded people who understand the issue. And then we will have to take it down to Austin, market it, take it all around, and try to get honestly, we should try to get bipartisan support for it. Democrats are not really down for any election security right now. They're acting like they don't know what that is. But we can still try. If we can get some simple wording and we can tell the Democrats, look, we've got Republicans that aren't doing this, so you can get Republican votes if you actually take this up. Like, I don't care. Because I'm not dealing with people like Morgan Meyer. I'm not going to try to convince Morgan Meyer. I'd literally rather try to convince a Democrat than Morgan Meyer after what I saw, the way I saw his staff behaving. And they're trying to gaslight everybody and be like, oh, Barry Wernick's staff was behaving badly. No, I don't care. Just because you're preppy and you're wearing designer clothes, whatever the hell, that does not mean that you're in the right, okay? Morgan Meyer's team were absolute clowns, objecting to every single thing that we were trying to get. So no. Morgan Meyer will never, ever campaign on election security because he's a fraud. Neither will Jennifer ever again. So thank you guys for your support throughout the recount. I'm sorry that I haven't been able to give regular updates. It's just there's been so much going on. And we've had to move so fast, right? That I didn't want to put something out and then all these other things were happening. So I was like, you know what? Let me just try to wait until we can get something filed in court. And I was really happy, and I thought that we would be able to report over the weekend that we filed a writ, and on Monday we might hear something back. No, the corrupt ass Dallas court denied it almost right away without even a response from the other people mentioned. So we're trying, guys, okay? Let me tell you about the deep state, all right? These fools. These are formidable opponents, okay? And they have the game rigged. So thank you guys. And let me see. I came on really late and I didn't really announce it, so I apologize for that. Meant to go on several days ago, couldn't get the camera working, but I appreciate you guys. So I'll try to go on, I'll try to come back on in the morning and show you guys all the receipts, but I don't, as per usual, I don't really know. I'm shadow banned on all the major networks, and my schedule is just a little bit hectic. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll probably catch you guys later. Pray for the you can go and follow Barry Wernick on Twitter. Wernick for Texas. You can follow me on Twitter. You'll see me. I don't know. I can't deal with social media. I don't freaking like social media, okay? I'm not convinced that they're not going to just keep deleting my accounts, because they did. They've deleted all of my accounts, even my original personal private accounts that I had for like 10, 11 years. All those memories, all those pictures, gone. So, it's hard to get excited about any of this stuff, because if they don't want this news going out, they're going to stop it. It doesn't matter what I do. All right? I used to try really hard. I used to put a lot more effort into all of this stuff. Why? For like almost nobody to see it? Okay. But I'll try again in the morning. We'll see. Let's see if I can get all this stuff up and running. There are times in which I can't even get my camera or any of my microphones working, and I don't know why. Sometimes it works. I follow all the instructions. Sometimes it just doesn't work. I don't know. What can I say? Let me tell you about the deep state. But, alright, you guys. I'll catch you guys later. I Pray for Barry Wernick. Pray for Dallas County. We do have Colonel Alan West coming in as a new DCRP chair in June, so that's cool. All right, you guys. I think there's a couple y'all watching, lurking. But I'll just catch you guys in the morning, okay? Bye.